Parenting is a team event. It's not a 100-meter race. I'm muted. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, welcome once again to this episode, if you like, another episode of our program, your program, the Slow Parenting program on Nostalgia Media. Okay, it's that time again of the week, of the day that we gather here to talk about all things parenting. Okay, we pay attention to the little details, and we give tips and issue and hand out nuggets about those things that we need to pay attention to when concerns our relationship with our children or our relationships with our parents. So welcome again. And as always, I am usually not on this program alone. I have other resource persons that are with me right now or that will be joining us before we are done. I want to welcome Mrs. Bolu Atiwiayo Palike. Thank you, Bolu, for joining up. We have an apology from Mrs. Yetunde Banjo. She has to go and play parent. Yes, that's what we talk about. She has to go and play parent in her children's school. It needs to be at an event. So we are clapping. So you see, we are leading by example here. So Bolu, welcome to the program. How are you today? And we should also soon be joined by, welcome Bolu. We shall also soon be joined by Dr. Oyewole Sarumi. He'll join us here as we go on with the program. And we still look forward to having Mrs. Adedoyin Ishola be with us here, and of course, Professor Charles Owakwe as well. Today, well, we like those nostalgic things. Okay, welcome on the program, Mrs. Adedoyin Ishola. Thank you for joining us. Nostalgic, going back in time, if you like, old school, because it all started that time. Okay, that time. None of us arrived here today, not even our children. That time. So looking back, it's not a bad thing, but we must not remain behind, meaning in the past. But we have a lot of things to dig up from yesterday that will help us in our parenting jobs today. One of those things, of course, is something that I have a very fond memory of, and maybe some of the people listening to us here might come to also say, wow, okay, that was nice that time. Yep. In Nigeria, as I grew up as a young child in Nigeria, there was that special time in the evenings, okay, early evenings into late evenings as we finish our day chores, and then we had the privilege of gathering around a bonfire, okay, and having an elderly person sit amidst us, maybe in the circle, maybe inside the circle sometimes, maybe outside of the circle sometimes even, and tell us stories. that was known as Tales by Moonlight. Most times the moon was out there and you could feel it. And you didn't need anything to cool you. The trees were there, the shrubs were all around, cool breeze. And sometimes you had corn roasting or yam, as the case may be, by the pleasure of the old person, old man, old woman, elderly man, elderly woman that would have chosen to tell us particular stories on those particular days. We enjoyed it. So I experienced that first time, not the virtual one that we saw on television later, Tales by Moonlight on NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. No, I experienced the real thing, Tales by Moonlight. Okay, so we're going to be talking about Tales by Moonlight today. But why are we talking about Tales by Moonlight? First, we'll go on a short commercial break, and when we come back, I'll tell you why we're going to be talking about Tales by Moonlight today. See you on the other side. All right, welcome back from that very short break. Yes, Tales by Moonlight. Well, Moonlight, we are familiar with Moonlight. Tales, we're also familiar by tales. We listen to stories. And at those times, they weren't just stories. They're actually vehicles through which values and morals were passed to us, imparted, made available to us in very formal and at the same time informal ways. Okay? Today, we might not have that opportunity or that space or privilege to sit around elderly persons around a bonfire. You might not, but we still do have it. You can create that within your family, in your own style. Today, you must tell your children tales by moonlight. You know what the fun part of it is? It's entirely up to you to tell your story. Paint it anyhow you like. If you like, tell them you scored 100% in all your subjects and you went to school. Don't worry. The day they go to clean your wardrobe and find your zeros, well, you'll be having that conversation later. But then we learned that. Is it lost? No, it's not lost. It's with us. It's up to you to recreate it in your own way. And then we're starting with our recreation here today. And that is why in season 2 of the Slow Parenting program, we are profiling the talk therapy. The talk therapy is all about what we need, the tools, the ingredients we need in our communication relationship with our children. 4 basic tools. 4, just 4. You can divide them into you can divide each one into sub group, but then 4 key, elements of our need and our duties for communication within our families, within our children. Okay, so I don't know this story all by myself. No, there The other people, the other resource persons on this program might claim, no, don't put us on that spotlight. No, 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 no. It is not fair. It is fair. It is fair in as much as someone called you and said, sit down. Let's have a discussion over something. You had already also experienced Tales by Moonlight. Eh? It might be an abridged version of it. It might be, it's still Tales by Moonlight. So long as your mother, your father, Boluwatiwa, your paleke, Adedoyin, Shola, so long as your mom, your dad said, okay, let's talk about this, girl, you already done your own Tales by Moonlight. So you also have that responsibility to partner. Okay? So on this particular edition of the Slow Parenting Program, we are, like I said, looking at those, well, tools, elements of communication, the talk therapy. What is it about? What are they? So, Boluwatiwa or Opaleke, I'm going to be on your case first. I'm sure you're already warming up. You know that. You knew before I even called you that. Yes, you are going to be on the spot. Yeah. What would you consider as, what would you find of, memorable interest, memory and interest, okay, of the times you have had elderly persons, whether your parents or not. In Africa, parents are not only your biological, so what would you remember to say, well, yeah, I think I had my Tales by Moonlight moment when XYZ happened? You just feed us in, okay? Don't be selfish. Tell us about it.
Okay, hi everyone again. It's a pleasure to be here again today. Okay, so my Tales by Moonlight moments. I have quite a few, many in fact. When I read through your book, I smiled because there's an assumption again that a certain category or generation of people had those real Tales by Moonlight moments, and some of us didn't. I think my parents did well to ensure that that culture, stayed with us, was passed on from their own parents to us. So it might not have been, the way it was typically, where you have village settings, people coming up. But even for people, I grew up in Lagos. We were born in Lagos. We grew up in Lagos. But I remember I grew up in a place called Satellite Town, which is very clustered and very family oriented as well. So estates like that usually had that camaraderie, had that community living, in truth, in real tangible terms. And so there were moments where some Saturdays, it wasn't like they were planned. Most times they were just ad hoc or just, spontaneous. So maybe your parents are sitting down, maybe somebody go back from work, just with one parent outside the front of your gate, and then the children are passing by and they just say, you walk on, while like you come, and then they now give you gist. And then while you're gisting, you sit on the pavement, and then other people just come and join you. Before you know what's happening, you have 10, 15 people clustered, sitting down on the pavement, some leaning on their cars, and they just go on, and then you're listening, and then you're laughing, and maybe something that you did, started the conversation, and they look at you like, I remember that day that Bolu did this. Don't mind her, like, and like that. And then my mom or my grandma, anytime she came visiting, also had those moments where so the power situation in Nigeria did not just start, right? It used to be way back then as well, but it wasn't just as bad as this. So anytime that there was no electricity, before you turn on the gen, before you put on your candles and everything, when there's breeze, we call it breeze now because it is what it is, small breeze outside. Let's go and take some fresh air outside. So we all sit down again outside. In those moments, we actually carry small stools and chairs and come outside, and mom will start telling you stories. And but sometimes she would even do folklore. She would actually sing along, and then she would teach you songs. What your call and response is going to be. She will say something, you will respond like this. She will sing the song, you respond like this. And she will tell you about the situation, about the hare, about the rabbits, about, all manners of stories. So I really did have those memories, thankfully, from both my parents and my grandparents in terms of Tales by Moonlight moments. So I wouldn't say that, the concept of Tales by Moonlight was a strange one for me. Besides the TV one that finally came on, tangible, practical Tales by Moonlight moments, I did have those. But more specifically, and I think one thing that stood out for me was that anytime that those moments came, it was always about, there was always a lesson to learn. So yes, you were open to interpretation as you grew older. To be like, sometimes I think back about those moments and I garner more experience. No, I garner more lessons and values off of those times than what they intended to communicate at the time. But at the time, at least there was one value that even if your ear is not working well, even if you're like you're dull or something, your head is not, you would get at least that one value that they're trying to communicate to you at that time. And all of you would have that one value that you have gotten from the story. So whatever additional thing that you get that layers on top of that will be, the extent to which you apply yourself to being aware or to increasing your level of, concepts and everything. But at least you would all get one major critical value or lesson of whatever story was told at that time. So I will stop here, to allow my auntie that is in the room today to also share her thoughts, because she was smiling as I was talking. So I know that she has a lot more robust experience
I'm
in Tales
smiling
of
too.
Moonlight than I have.
I'm
So I look
smiling
forward
too
to.
I'm smiling too because
I
you
look forward
said
to.
you have quite a few. So don't worry. We'll
I
see
have
here.
quite a few.
Don't worry.
I
Your time
have. I
today.
have quite a few. Okay, so
So
yeah, thank
going,
you.
well, yeah. Um we are on to an international global, we're on to a global audience. But as you listen to us, as you listen to the resource persons speak, within your culture, within your environment, whichever part of the world you're listening to us from, or you would watch this video from, either now or later, just take your mind back to those moments. You see, because Bolo just brought something up now, and I hinted on it when I was doing my introduction to say it's up to you to create your Tales by Moonlight for your family, for your friends, in Africa. Look, let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? We are onto a global audience, but then we still have, okay? There is a call and response to a particular group that can make you understand, that would catch on to what you're saying. There might just be some other person to say, what are they discussing there? Maybe okay, no, okay. But there is a core group. In marketing, you don't go into the market believing you can't sell to everybody. Okay, you must have your target population. So the target population that this is all about, I would be glad for every family in the world to create Tales by Moonlight for their families. But, well, in Nigeria, in Africa, from where I come, okay, we are saying this is how things had panned out and helped us to grow as children, to arrive at this place, at this time, where we can dip our hands back into the past and say, this helped us. Okay? Some of the things that your parents couldn't tell you point blank when they are talking to you direct, you hear those stories, but you hear them via hyena and cockroach and the tortoise and the lion. Have you seen lion before? No. Maybe you've seen tortoise once in your life. You'll be wondering, how can tortoise talk? How can the person who is telling you had put those morals in the mouths and characters of those fictional animal characters, okay, to get you to hear something, understand something, give a feedback, a response for which, because they will say, what did you learn today? One by one, all of us will say, okay, you clap for him or her. Did you hear what the lion food? Which lion? You are the lion. Okay? Yes. So wherever you're listening to, we have folklores in different styles and formats across the different, I don't know why I'm hesitating to use the word race, but then it is what it is, across different cultures, across different races. Here we have segmented, I have picked on a cultural aspect of the Nigerian life, okay? Which you as a viewer, a listener from whatever part of the world might identify, and you find something that is that, well, you say, wow, yeah, we have that. But you know what my thing is? It's not the story. My thing is your relationship with your children. That's my bit on this program, okay? How you pass the information that must be passed, okay? Those things that need to be said to build the children up, to have information and education with which to make informed decisions at appropriate times and spaces, especially those times and spaces where you are not there, while you won't be there. If you like, be that helicopter parent right now. Yeah? Thankfully, helicopter has range that it can't go beyond. Helicopter cannot fly from here in Montreal, where I live, to fly to Nigeria. It's not possible. If for it to do that, it must be, yeah, that's why there is a helicopter and there are jets. Okay? Yeah. So it's up to you. So, Mr. Dedo Inshola, we're going to also task you now to let us into that your Tales by Moonlight moment, if you may.
Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to be here again, and thank you so much, Moonlight TV. I was musing because we have so many related stories and all that, and I cherish, honestly, with nostalgia, my growing up, and up till now, I must tell you that I'm still hearing stories. Because once in a while, when I go visit my aunties, my uncles, of course, they'll go down memory lane. And it's like, I've heard this thing all over again. But you know, when we talk about these stories, you know, I'm a historian. By the special grace of God, Richie and I, you know, we graduated in history, and we like to tell stories. And I still like to tell stories. And my children are always very, very hands-on, you know, to listen to the stories. And you know, those stories that before, like, if you go visit your auntie, like if I went to visit my auntie with them, the first thing is first of all, they don't want you to go, and they will tie you down with stories that we just be looking at yourself, you be looking at the time, they don't care. They'll be telling you stories of when mommy did this, daddy did this, and take you back memory lane. They want you to relate with your background, with your foundation, with your roots, and they'll be telling you stories. Even mommy, my father, my parents as a whole, you know, they will sit us down. Even I'm talking about intentionally now. Sit us down and tell us some stories about how they came to Lagos, what happened before they came to Lagos, and all that and all that. And sometimes they will use some figurative speeches. They will use some inanimate things and all that to tell you stories. And you know, these stories go a long way to really shape us. I know sometimes, you know, when you hear some of these stories, which I heard, you know, those days, I can tell you that I've been not only informed, I've been able to use them to build part of my life, and I try as much as possible to also cascade it to my children and people around me. And you know, even in my house fellowship center, I try to tell them stories, because children listen more to stories than when you give them formal education or something like that, especially when it is out of the school setting. I want to start pushing school setting into them. It's better you tell them stories. They are looking forward to hearing stories about, you know, trying to tell them stories even from the Bible, and trying to make it up as if is real. You know, they like to listen to stories. So those stories actually built me up. You know, if you go, like I said, if you go visit your auntie, the first thing they will do is they'll start.
Down, intentionally now. Sit up. We are having a technical
backslap.
So just. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I tell you, okay, this is what happened in so and so time. This is what happened. Do you know this person? I say, I don't know. I say, then they start telling me stories about the person and all that. And that is even aside from the stories that you hear from, I read your book and it was, I remember Moonlight, Tales by Moonlight. And honestly speaking, I growing up, I'm not sure I missed so many editions of Tales by Moonlight when it was 5 or 6, I can't remember what time then. I'll quickly go to the television and listen to all those folklores, those Tales by Moonlight, those stories and all that. And whether we like it or not, we don't want it to die, because even I have to relate it to the Bible. Even the Bible says that we should talk to our children, tell them how they went through the wilderness, tell them how they survived, tell them that they will be able to appreciate God. So some of these things that we do, some of these that we hear, they are not only for entertainment's sake, they are also to know sense. The roots today, granted, they won't travel their route, talking about gorgeous. But at least you can bring their village back to where they are in Canada, in UK, in America, wherever, and bring the village to them and tell them exactly what visualizing is. They think they are in the village. That means you are bringing the village back to them, and you are where they are, and you are telling them what happens here, what happens there. I think we shouldn't allow it to die. Thank you.
Something right? Let me see this. So thank you so much, Doing. When we talk about the aspect of take the village to the children, and not to take the village, the journey itself, the places where he stopped to eat pounded yam, eat bushmeat, all the joints described in detail. But the first time I was traveling with him to go to my hometown, it felt like I had been there already, because of, even the aunts and uncles I had never met. But when I was now eventually meeting them, it was like I had met them, because he had always been, your aunt, most of those times, like, who really needs to hear? It also meant, because when I met them, I didn't look strange to them. They were like, oh, yeah, Wakabo, which means he too had been saying, my son, today. Okay? Was in all the storytelling, in all the gathering together, there are 4 key elements in that process. Okay? I will tell us what we'll get. Well, we will discuss our key elements on from our Okay, welcome back from that short break. Before we went on that break, we said we were talking about the elements of this, well, elements of the storytelling sessions. Whether you're talking with one child or a group of children, the elements are the same. And we seize this opportunity to welcome Dr. Oyewale Sarumi as she joins us. You're welcome, Dr. Sarumi. Okay. And then the elements to tell a story. Welcome, Dr. Sarumi. Yes. To tell a story.
Yes, sir.
Well, time. You need time to tell a story. Meaning you need to be available. Storyteller and those to whom the story is being told. Okay? There has to be the agreement or
recording in
knowledge,
progress.
or if you like, keen interest. Okay? The storyteller should know his or her audience, should have keen interest on his or her audience. Is the interest that brought you there in the first place? So you already probably know each child, know your child, to know what kind of information you need to pass at what time and what kind of effect that certain kind of information would have on a particular child and maybe might not have that same kind of effect on another child. It's another way of telling you that all your audience, all the people in your audience, all the participants in your audience are not the same. It's the same way to let you know that your children are not the same. Even if they were to be twins, they are not the same. So in relating with them, you need to have that understanding. And you have to build that understanding with each child, with each member of your audience. Remember, we are not talking about the theater here. We're talking about your family. So let's break it down so we don't get lost in talking about audience. You don't think I'm talking about a concert or a drama presentation. No, we're talking about your family, right? You need to know each child. Would all your children eat at the same pace? No. Do all your children like the same meals? No. But must all of them eat the same meals? Oh, yes, at sometimes, yes, for specific reasons. Those reasons could be economic, it could be time. It might just be that that's what you were able to prepare. So nobody dictates, I can't eat it. They have to eat. So, but then you also now know that because this child really doesn't like fish, but that if fish is all we could cook at this time, you also find a way to get the child that doesn't like fish to manage to eat the fish. So there it is, our talk. Okay? E for time, A for the assurance that you need between the listeners and the storytellers, parents and children. Then the listening skills that must be mutual. Must be mutual. Parents and the children in a communication relationship must agree to listen to themselves. Listen as you are giving instruction or passing information to be sure that the person to whom you're passing information gets it. How do you know whether he gets it? You ask for feedback. If you do not get feedback and you finish, presenting a decree and walk away, you've done nothing. Okay, come here. La, 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 la. Yes, that's what it is. La, 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 la. Guess here, get out. You didn't get any feedback. So you're not sure whether the child, first of all, the child might have heard you, but didn't understand. Okay? The child might also not even have heard you at all. for any other reason. So listening is key. Of course, then the final element or the last element in the talk therapy is the knowledge or the keen interest you have your children about your own dance that will make you to know them and be able to upgrade tools and skills for each child. Welcome, Dr. Yowale. You've come to join us at the academic academic session of this of this church. Okay,
yes, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
We have had the privilege of listening to the Tales by Moonlight moment that both Mrs. Ayo Palike and Mrs. Adedoyin Ishola experienced as they were growing up, even as they have grown up, because we have not finished listening to Tales by Moonlight. It's still happening. So, sir, I don't know if you would like to share with us maybe just one Tales by Moonlight moment that you recall, sir.
He has fallen off the call.
Oh, okay. I need to admit him again. All right. I think he's back. Okay. So while we're waiting for Dr. Sarumi, okay, he's back. Dr. Sarumi, welcome back. He's trying to connect. Sorry, you're back.
You were talking about storytelling and
yes.
No, not at all. Okay, so it's a yes and no question, I guess. Sometimes I remember very well that in my own experience, sometimes my husband just says to me, "But not every moment has to be a teaching moment." Because there was a time that I think I was beginning to get overbearing with my children. So we watch cartoons together, like I usually watching Tom and Jerry, like for crying out loud. And at the end of it, I'm laughing with them, and then I'm like, "So what did you learn?" And so at first it was nice because they were talking about they learned how Tom did it, Jerry did that. And then I'm watching maybe some Disney channel, and then I say, "What do you learn?" I'm not like, "Bulu, like really? Like let these children just be children. Like must you always look for something to learn?" So yes and no. Sometimes it's you are determined to seize the opportunity at the teaching moment. Some other times it's just purely, again, to show to them what vulnerability is, to model for them what leveling up with them can be like, so it's multifaceted. I think that the core thing about storytelling that gets to me that I love is the fact that storytelling allows you to bypass the conscious resistance. You do not have a defensive posture when somebody is telling you stories. When somebody is giving you an instruction, does this instruction align with my personal beliefs, my value system, when you're telling a story, even when elements with who you are or what you do, you take a position that is more empathetic or seeking to understand. Why would that man do that? Why would that guy go and steal from him? That was not a good, you're less judgmental, I guess. So it allows you to bypass the conscious, allows you to check your beliefs or to help the other person to check their beliefs in a way that is subtle, that does not feel like you are stepping on my toes. People do not walk on eggshells around you when you're telling stories, even if the stories are dire stories and yet it's so subtly done that you don't even see it. Also, the beauty of storytelling. One particular story time, just how in me big ears and my big toe is big compared to the other toes. Like parts of your body that you're growing up as a child, you didn't ask to be born in this, but that's the body that you have. And then people begin to tell you that your nose is setting me, your ears are setting me, your eyes are so brown, your pupils are so white, and things like that. And I would always tell my parents all about those things. So one day, not even around that moment when I was complaining or giving him that feedback, just out of the blues one day, we just telling us a story about, and there was one, I think I've told the story before on this program, that a man took a woman to see his parents, his betrothed that he wanted to get married to. And everybody looked at the woman shockingly. And, there was just, everybody's face was just like, noses, up and everything. And then they called him in private. They excused themselves from the woman and her family and called the man, their own son, in private to a room. I was like, of all the girls you've met in your life, and I know you've met beautiful girls, why in God's name will you choose that one? I'm like, Baba, I don't understand what you mean. And he said, can't you see that her teeth is, like where rabbit's teeth are like this. So apparently she used to suck a lot as a child. So her thumb had pushed her teeth, so her mouth doesn't even close well. She had this deformity, as it were. And the man with lit up eyes was like, so you noticed that? That is exactly what it is about her that caught my attention. I'm fascinated by her teeth. They draw me in. I love the way she smiled. And he was beaming with
like your husband. Over the question was this: must every story time be okay? I come. Must it be just storytelling, or must it always be you must learn something from this story? Okay, I won't make my own. I won't sift it. You have tried to sift it. You actually sift it, Bolu. But I'm going to leave Dr. Sarumi to say the bit he said he wants to say about stories, and also delve into this issue of storytelling. Do we have to tell stories just because we want to teach a lesson? Dr. Sarumi?
Storytelling basically is majorly to teach a lesson. I don't know where I stopped when I was talking.
We didn't hear you at all. I can help you with that. We didn't hear nothing. So start from the beginning.
Really?
Yeah.
You heard nothing?
Nothing.
That's
nothing.
Quite...
You were switching off anything at all.
So
Kilo day. I was talking about what I was saying was that storytelling basically is what makes life to be real to the children. And the reason why we tell story is to help them to understand what life is, then give them lesson learned, so that from the myriad of stories they have heard, even they are not yet in full contact with reality, it will be in their subconscious, and it can come alive if such reality, comes their way as they grow. That's the power of storytelling. And today, I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, and a consultant. We use storytelling a lot in most of my leadership coaching. Executive that I coach, I use storytelling. Then leadership that I coach, I use a lot of storytelling. And this is very important. And we also teach these executives that they need to document the stories of their life and use it to train their staff. So storytelling is important. And I was saying that storytelling is a powerful tool for parenting. Is a powerful tool. And so if any parent doesn't know when and how to use it, he or she needs to be trained. Because storytelling does not have, I'm not talking about moons by taillight when you come out like we did with my grannies, with my grandfather and grandparents in those days. We are looking at life as they are at home with you, as they are in the vehicle with you, as they are sleeping, and all of those things. You have the right story to share with them. And at that age, it stays with them and it becomes a part of them. sharing the story and also giving them the lesson learned. That's exactly what and I was saying that I read somewhere, a group of neuroscientists, they came up with a research and said that when we look at the way storytelling does, when people hear story, it lightens up the myelin part of their brain and is equated to having physical experiences, live physical experiences. And so what they concluded there is that storytelling is equal to reality. And so when we keep telling our children, when we keep using stories, depending on situation and circumstances, to bring home, the point to our children, it sticks more. It lies in their brain. It brings reality to them. And so even though they have no need for it now, when they come across such circumstance in future, they will remember and be able to recall all the stories that they were told then. I mean, I didn't live with my father, but I lived with my grandmother. So not like Bolu that had the opportunity of living with his. So he has story from his father. But then, so I hope you understand. Bolu, yes, I want you to be laughing. I see you laughing. That was good. But I want to pull your leg. So, so that was what I was trying to say when I was cut off. And I was also saying that my grandparents that I lived with at that time, they always tell me a lot of story. And most of my wisdom that I learned, that I got to, come through with, were wisdom that I picked from these stories, that not the Agbanin stories or Eledumare story, all of those Fagunwa story. No. I'm talking of real life story of their experiences and of their friends. They share with me because I live with Agba. So, and that's the reason why, maybe that's why I'm behaving like Agba as at that time, when you know me, brother, not now that we are really Agba.
Oh, okay. I thought you were denying that you are Agba now.
Let me stop there.
Thank you so much.
That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. But I still have something to take you up on that. It still tallies with our question of should stories be strictly for teaching? Your answer is yes. Okay, yes. So, Mamadi,
no, I didn't say that. I didn't say. I said story should be.
You said stories were basically for
story.
I agree. We agree.
Yes, because when you tell story, there should be something. You don't tell story for fun. They must learn something.
Okay, sir. That's why we said we agree with you, but I still said I will take you up on that in another. I will come to that when we have Mrs. Adedoyin Ishala, chip in what she thinks. What role should stories play in our communications with our children?
Well, stories, like I said before, stories are the medium that you can drive home your point to the children, because every child loves to hear stories. Now, let me just say, a lot of children love to hear stories. But by the time you want to catch their attention, just tell them that there's a story that they want to story. Before you say story, all of them are sitting up and they are already ears on ground for the stories. So, it's very important for us to use stories to also catch their attention and let them know. Use stories to take them back to their roots. You can use real life stories. You can use animated stories, using animals and stuff like that. You can even use your own life to tell them stories. So stories play a very, very important role in trying to shape our children. And just like the earlier speakers have said, when you tell stories, it sticks more than sometimes when you go into these academics and try to give them a lot of algebras and the rest of it. Stories stick more, especially when you have one or two lessons to learn from the stories. I can tell you that most of the stories, if not all, that I grew up with my father, with my mother, with aunties and all that, they have helped me in so many ways. For instance, if a story is told to me about a particular woman, maybe in my village and all that, so I have an opportunity to say, okay, I want to move close to that woman, or I want to keep distance from that woman. They will tell you, they probably will not even give you an end of that story, how it ends. But you, as when you get to a particular level, you'll be able to decipher and maybe take something out of it. So stories are very important for us to be able to communicate with our children. And just like Dr. Sarumi said, it's a part of management, consulting, management trainings for you to use stories. And even when we are in church, we see some of our pastors using stories to drive home their point. So stories have come to stay with us forever, and they're going to be with us for forever. So we also need, we should create time for our children to tell them stories about our roots, about our work. A lot of times I tell my children stories about my work, and I tell them the stories for two things. Let them know what I'm going through. There is not all cakes out there. And let them know how to pray for me, because maybe I'm facing one situation or the other. So you can see that stories play a lot of roles in our lives and in the lives of those we are telling. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Mamadi. I said I was going to take Dr. Sarumi up, not in any confrontational or challenging way, but in the line of his presentation, he when he mentioned during coaching, consulting programs and all, even at those times, just like Bolu shared with us to say, my husband would say, must you, okay? Even at those times, we would agree that there are stories we tell even during workshops, trainings, and all of that, just to get the group to relax. True? Yes. All stories are not for, you must learn this, you must learn that. Same thing with our...
That's true. That's true.
Yes. Good. So the same applies to our children. If they get the hint that each time you bring them together or each time you're telling is to just hammer down something, it would also become counterproductive. So sometimes you just tell stories for the fun of it. You're just having fun telling stories. Okay? That's well.
Can I say something? Can I say something, sir?
Go ahead.
Yes, you are right. There are, storytelling serve different purpose. In fact, for parenting, is also a bond. It helps in bonding.
Yes.
Apart from lesson learned. So that one is very key. But you see, in storytelling, there are quite a lot of other things that it serves, not just teaching. There is used for language development for children.
Yes.
Is also used for communication, for them to be able to communicate. Then another thing which I remember is also memory. It helps them to develop the cognitive skills when they listen to story. And storytelling also helps children for critical thinking, creativity, and imagination. So quite a lot of them. So it's not just lesson learned and alone. I just want to bring that in.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ewole. That's exactly where this was headed. Okay, to say that we need to be careful about. Okay, now you must learn it to sit down. Okay, we need to be careful because just like just like Dr. Ewole has said, there's a whole lot in that cocktail called storytelling. There's a whole lot that goes in there. There's a whole lot that's useful inside that cocktail called storytelling. Even when you are not saying, okay, what lesson did you learn? The child would benefit from a whole lot of things as First, he mentioned bonding. Bonding, storytelling is one very, very cost-effective way for initiating and maintaining and sustaining family bonding. Okay? Because like we have established in what are the elements of the talk therapy, in storytelling, you are sharing time. In storytelling, you are assuring and reassuring yourselves that you need yourselves. Okay? In storytelling, you are both listening. The parents are listening, the children are listening. In storytelling, you are developing keen interest in yourselves. The children in you, you and the children. Okay? So all the four elements of the talk therapy are, located and contained in storytelling. So we nothing is lost if a child, even when you're saying, what did you learn? If there's a particular child that never raises or his or her hand to say, I learned this, don't worry. There's a benefit. There is a benefit that would have, gone down in the process. The first thing storytelling does is to bring people together. Whether it's two people, father, mother, or rather mother, child, or father, mother, children, the first thing that happens is there is room for bonding, okay? For that moment is there. That bonding, that ingredient for bonding is provided in storytelling, okay? Then you will now choose, because again, if the let's get together becomes boring, they say, oh, I don't know about you guys. All of us grew up, and all of us had our own parents. There are times when they say, okay, everybody come to the sitting room. They say, okay. Depending on who it is, the person that's coming to tell you story because it's a fun story, and the one that is okay, is a lecture. Nobody likes lectures, really. Nobody does. Okay, so we have to ease up. That's why I say Bolu is very lucky. To have somebody to say, okay, I better get back in line. This whole thing is not about you must learn something. They're already learning things. They're learning that it's important to be together as a family. They're learning to, I don't know, there are times these stories are going on. Either myself as a child, you get lost in the voice of that elder telling you that you get lost. You actually go inside that world of that voice. Actually, in your mind's eye. Dr. Oyewole talked about shaping your imagination. Today, I'm a storyteller. Today, I'm a writer. A whole lot of it came from all of those. Okay? You imagine. You are not there, but you have gone. Look, you begin to imagine. They say the tortoise went for a meeting in heaven. Okay? Tortoise, heaven. Okay, how tortoise got to heaven? That's okay. Before he went, he called a meeting for all the birds. Each of them lent him a feather. We are rounding up. As we round up, I'm telling you the story. Learn, or it's up to you to pick whether it's just fun story or a moral that you're taking from it before I ask our resource persons to give us their parting messages. The tortoise, there was a meeting in heaven. All the animals in the animal kingdom were called. Of course, the tortoise is an animal. He said, okay, he has to go. He said, okay. He called each of the birds, please lend me a feather. All of them lent him a feather. But he called all of them back and said, okay, come. Before we go for this meeting, we must all take a name. This one say, I'm king. He said, okay, fine, no problem. That's when I say, I'm queen. He said, no, wahala. The other one say, I am doctor, lawyer. They gave themselves big titles. So he now came to the time of tortoise. Okay, so tortoise, you've not taken a name. What's your name? He said, well, it looks like all of you have taken on the names that are available. So my name is everybody, all of you. They say, what kind of name is that, all of you? They say, that's my name. So they gave him the feather. They went to heaven to have the meeting. When they got to the meeting, As they sat down, the meeting has gone on. When it came to the time for the banquet and the feasting, they will provide a dish. They say it's for all of you. Tortoise will carry. Remember, his name is all of you. They will bring drink and say it's for all of you. Tortoise will carry. The others were looking and say, when will our own come? Say, wait, now you are king, Abi. They will bring one for king. This is for all of you. Doesn't matter. Everything that was made available, tortoise took, because they say it's for all of you. When it came to time to leave, to go back to earth, all the people that gave him feathers, they went to him one by one, they took their feathers. I said, okay, give me my feather, give me. So tortoise was there in heaven with all the things he has collected. It now remained for him now to arrive back on earth. He had no wings, because the people that took him, helped him to get to heaven, he has conned them to take all their gifts. So what does tortoise do? Because he can't stay in heaven. Tortoise looked down and took a dive from heaven and landed on the earth. That is the reason for which the tortoise shell is in patches. That's the end of my story. Boluwatiwa, what's your passing shot? And did you pick anything from the story?
Oh, yeah, I did. I've heard that story a number of times. So, yes, I did pick up a couple of things from the story. That sometimes the first to utter a word, we assume that people are slow when they do not speak up on time. Sometimes it's just because they are processing deeper things, So sometimes it's not the first to speak up that is the wisest. And so many other, lessons from that story. So yes. Again, like I said, I think my parting words would just be that storytelling, or more specifically, the whole idea of tales by moonlight, which is the concept of communicating using stories, is one great phenomenon that allows you to bypass the conscious resistance of people, because we are by nature a defensive species. So we tend to assume that everybody is judging us, antagonizing and everything. But with storytelling, the rhetorics are passed, narratives are changed, narratives are even challenged, because of the power that storytelling has. So you might have been very headstrong about something, about a position, and then after a couple of days, hours, or whatever, you begin to think, begin to reconsider, okay, maybe there must be some truth in this, just because of the power of storytelling, how it was delivered to you through a story. So yeah, we can't just exhaust the power of storytelling.
Thank you so much, Bolu. Beside Shola, what would be your pattern statement? And then did the story I told about the tortoise and all the other animals, did it resonate with you, or how did it resonate with you?
Oh, yes. The story is actually, when you were saying it, I was actually musing. It was the story that I love to share with children a lot, but not in the context that you have shared it. It's going to party, but not to heaven, So I resonate so much with it. But my parting statement here is to tell us as parents that having conversation with our children is not the same thing as storytelling, because conversation could be more serious. And a lot of when you say you want to have conversation with your child and your children, what they think is, what have I done again? You understand? That is the first thing that will come to their mind. But storytelling is said in relaxed mode. And it's a way of, like somebody said, bonding with your children. It's a way of letting them know that let's have some time to relax. Let's have some time to unwind. So storytelling is more relaxing and unwinding and more bonding than having conversation. So we should don't say, I have conversation with my children, and you think the same thing as storytelling. No. So I just want to make that extension at least for the purpose of this program.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Adedoyin. Dr. Sarumi, we take your part in statement, and I know you would also have had that story at some point in time. How does it resonate?
I've had it. I have another rendition of that. So, but thank you for sharing it. Parent needs to learn the art of storytelling, because, like I said before, through storytelling, children encounters various challenges, various conflicts, various characters, and the challenges they face. And what this does for them is that it encourages them to think critically, analyze situation, and come up with creative solutions. Thus, we develop their problem-solving ability. Also, because of that, it stimulates the cognitive development. Because story, what it does is to engage children's attention. Therefore, their memory and thinking processes is highly stimulated. And this one also assists them to improve their comprehension skill, like I said earlier, memory retention, and then overall cognitive ability. So with that, I will advise parents to keep telling story, because not only what I've said, it also teaches moral values and other things that are very important for living, like empathy, kindness, honesty, and other consequences of life. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Sarumi, for that. Okay, and there is people, friends, family on slow parenting. It's been another wonderful episode of your program, our program, and we've seen how time went by, because we're just telling stories. Okay, it's the same thing if if you choose to do that in your family with your children. You will soften, the hardness of lessons. You will soften the hardness of certain taboo, if you like, taboo topics, issue areas, because you're just telling stories. You don't need to say you can make the tortoise the culprit. You can bring the lion, you can bring the eagle, you can bring the fish in the ocean, and then you are passing morals, you are bonding. Okay, like has been said, you are building and developing the cognitive, ability in your children to be able to, think and reason in both abstract and concrete terms. It's not just sit down, you must get it. It's just like that child, or that child that parent just likes to pull out the belt, get the cane to flog. That child at some point will become hardened, and the flogging and the caning wouldn't mean anything again. So if you do not learn how to make your storytelling fun, you will lose the children as well. So add fun to your storytelling. Don't make it all, you must learn this. They learn enough, even when you're having fun. The first thing they learn, we are family. You need to bond. That's where we ended for today on Slow Parenting on Nostalgia Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to your joining us again next Wednesday, same time, 7 p.m. West African Nigeria time. Okay. And then 2 p.m. US, Canada, Eastern time. Till that time next week, be good. Keep telling stories and keep bonding. See you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Parenting is simplicity parenting. Simplicity parenting.
We want to discourage a particular behavior, right? We want to deter that behavior from occurring in the future. And so we apply.
So we are talking about community. We also remember that your children want to be you. They're not talking about that person that's out.
Exceptions to every rule, and no matter the best or the most noble of mirrors that we do modeling, sometimes they veer There are exceptions.
Focus on quality time rather than the other